Hi everyone, good afternoon and welcome to the GeoWomen panel, or more like a coffee chat. We have today a diverse women from different areas of geospatial. It'll be a good opportunity for you to get to know their thoughts and perspectives on what the skill sets to have in the geospatial sector. Let me first bring the three female founders and startup entrepreneurs from our GeoWorks Geotech community. Ladies, can you please join me? Yes, first off, I'd like to introduce Jeslyn Wong from Synspective, Japan. Synspective is in the South satellite industry, and there's Vuran from AI Robotics. AI Robotics look into AV solutions for geofence premises. And we have, thirdly, Seok Mei from Graffiquo. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
And I'd like to also welcome my three SLA colleagues, Stephanie, Shiva, and Peiwen, to join me, please. Thank you. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Hi.
Hui-san, could you just place this into speaker view? Maybe we can stop sharing the panel slide. Great, thank you. So Shiva is from the OneMap team. Stephanie is in the innovation team at SLA looking at new tech for geospatial. And we have Peiwen who looks into the data side of geospatial. So first up, let me ask the first question to the three wonderful female startup entrepreneurs. So maybe we can start with you, Seok Mei. What excites you most about your job?
My job. The main thing that excites me actually is meeting all the different people, especially in geospatial industry. It is not just one industry, it's actually a multitudes of industry where we can have transport to, like urban mobility, to sewage, to, a whole lot of other things and a whole lot of applications. So with this, we also meet with many different types of people with different ideas and different innovation, and it's global actually. So yes, what excites me most is actually meeting different types of people, although we are in one industry.
I agree. With geospatial, we work with people from machine learning, AI, robotics, from the data side of things. So it can be different people from different backgrounds. So let's go to Jeslyn. What excites you most about your job?
I think it's the ability to educate the mass public and our clients about what synthetic aperture radar can do to impact their daily lives, and being able to bridge something that is from space to our common lives. I think that's something that is pretty impactful for me. Thank you.
Vuran, what about yourself? And the first question, what excites you most about your job? And the second one is, what do you like to see more in the geospatial industry?
Sure. Thank you, Vanessa. First of all, I'm just so excited to be here. This is the first women panel I'm on, and I'm so happy, especially there is a team of female achievers on the screen. You're all boss ladies, so thank you for being here. And also, I want to thank for the people who joined in today, and we definitely want to hear you, whether it's questions or feedback, or just say hello to us. So back to your question, Vanessa. For me, I worked for 10 years, so I'm 30 plus. I worked in 3 different companies in the past. Number one is a British company, publicly listed, that is performance and profit driven. The second one is a Chinese state-owned company that is power and obedience driven. And now AI robotics that is mission, vision, and survival driven. So what really excites me to come to work every day and wake up is technology and people. For the technology, we know that the coming decades, technologies that integrate robotics, computer programming, artificial intelligence will transform the way we work. So it is so exciting to just be with the technology, work on it for the future. But in this traditionally male-dominated sectors, it is also critical for women to take on the same opportunities as men, so that we women are not left behind in the fastest growing and the most lucrative industries. The second part is really the people. I don't know about you guys, but for me, you don't have the chance of working with great people all the time. So I'm so lucky to work with talented, professional, passionate people in my team. And every day I could learn so much from them. What I found is when you work with great people, it creates a network effect. Meaning we joined GeoWorks, and we got introduced to so many amazing GeoWorks team, as well as geotech companies. So GeoWorks is like a hub. The events, the workshops, the training that you guys organized make us get connected, get informed, and also stay on top of our game. And that is really critical for a startup. So to your second question, what do I want to see more? I shared with my female colleagues in the past that I feel lonely in working in technology industries. So definitely I want more peers, both women and men, join the technology companies. If you look at the data, in the past here in Singapore, 50 years ago, only 30% of women worked outside of their home. But now, today, 60% of the working age women are in the workforce. So this is a significant improvement. But in fact, all women, in my opinion, are working women, whether they choose to work in the office or whether they choose to work at home with their children, or sometimes it's a combination of both. To be honest, I deeply admire women who choose to work inside of their home, raising their children, and I respect that decision. If you look at our society today, it still operates on a mindset that one parent, traditionally the mother, leaves the workforce and sacrifices their ambition just to provide care for their family, for the adult dependent, and sometimes most of the time, in fact, contributing disproportionately to the housework. So for the future, I'm sure there will be innovative ways to make it easier for women to experience not only the joy of motherhood, but to do it without facing the career setbacks. So I believe we, men and women, we will cultivate a society that embraces the fullness of life, both the satisfying work life as well as a flourishing family life. Back to you, Vanessa.
It takes two to tango indeed. So let's now go to the topic of our skill sets. So let me ask Pei Wen and Stephanie. So both of you did studied geography or minor in GIS in universities. So maybe Pei Wen, you can start sharing first. What are the skill sets do you think that geospatial professionals would need when they start in their career fresh?
So hello, Pei Wen here. So actually the skill sets that you should get once you step out of university is actually to have geospatial software skills. So software such as QGIS, ArcGIS, and even programming softwares and skills such as Python and R. So I guess this is what actually helps in assimilating you during the work environment, because actually the learning curve is quite steep when you look at start learning and start applying more geospatial concepts within the working environment. But another thing I also want to do to know that is that you should also be adaptive to the working environment that you already have, because all the things that you learn are on the job and everything is actually out of your comfort zone. So you should try to explore new ways on learning these new softwares and skills as and when necessary. Yeah, so Stephanie can fill more details in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Pei Wen. She said she mentioned programming skills and software-specific knowledge. Those are very important, and also like understanding spatial data and spatial algorithms would be good as well. Yeah, and definitely like learning on the job is a huge thing, because like tech changes every day, so we need to constantly keep up to date. So that's really important too. But the other thing that I also want to touch on is like trying to understand the project as a whole, because geospatial data is like, there's a large variety of geospatial data which can be applied in many different domains. So having a good understanding of the domain which you're applying the data to can also be very important in your daily, like in your job. Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Shiva? You mentioned that you don't really have a GIS or geography background, and you learned everything by yourself.
Yes,
So could you share your perspective?
Sure, Vanessa. So I came from NTU. I graduated in computer engineering, and I was basically a web developer and a native Android developer for a couple of years before my current job in GeoWorks. When I first came in, I had no knowledge about geospatial data or technology. It was something that I had to learn on the go, especially certain skill sets, even programming skill sets I actually left, which was like Node.js or Golang Pythoning, as well as some databases like PostGIS, which is only related to geospatial data. These are some of the tools and skill sets that I picked up while on the job over here. It's not something that I had learned in the previous previous jobs scopes, because they all were from various industries. So it was like healthcare, education, construction. So it had nothing in specific to geospatial, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Shiva. So back to Jeslyn, Seok Mei, and Wuran. So I think the three of you mentioned that, for example, Wuran, you came from a trade and economy background. Seok Mei and Jeslyn, you came from a business background.
Yes.
So how did you, I see the common traits that you have as successful women in the passion in communication and influencing business decision makers. How do you sell the products and services for your company? And help to get them to decide about their path forward for your products and services. So how would you, what's the advice to the women out there who doesn't have a tech background? From my perspective, I think that is very valuable if you have a strong tech interest, because we need to have a learning curve. I'd like to hear also more about your perspective. Maybe Seok Mei, you can start sharing.
Start first. Yeah, okay. Yes, I come from a business background. Actually, I graduated from econometrics. Believe it, it's economic statistics actually. So from there, I went into IT, and from IT, I started my own business in the year 2001. So I've been an entrepreneur basically all my life. And to me, what is important is, yes, technology is important, geospatial is important, but what is more important is your willingness to learn. So no matter what industry you're in, and no matter what you do, basically, if you have the passion, the drive, and you're willing to learn, and you're willing to just go get it, then very likely you will succeed. Yeah. So for me, that is the most important part. How I got into geospatial is actually, my business partner is technical. So our product comes from an engineering background. We are a photogrammetry 3D digital twin. See, I can't even pronounce it myself, but what is good is, where I come from is we are bringing that technology, engineering technology, into the business world. So we'll make it then very easy for anybody to use it. So the part where, if you're asking me where women and all that come in, is come from a very simplistic point of view, come from something that is simple, easy to use, something that don't take up a lot of your time. And then like Wuran said, we need to have work-life balance. So anything that is very simple, very easy, and very fast would be most ideal for us. So basically, coming from that perspective is how we position it to sell to basically our customers.
Jeslyn, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would agree. I think passion is definitely a must. For myself, I graduated in computer science in Illinois, so it was like confused, in the Midwest. So I think how I chanced upon geospatial is that we were part of the Synspective, so-called, it was an impact program that got commercialized. So we saw the mass use cases that is previously not being made available with current technology. So we feel that that's how we can play a part and impact the economy. We are more into like game changers. So I think that's my, the area that I am very much passionate about. Yeah.
I think Seok Mei, prior to that also, we had discussion about how, as a woman, you help the engineering team to redesign the product so that the user interface, the color would be more appealing to a wider audience. Could you share a bit about that?
Yeah, because traditionally it is very engineering and very boring. So we bring flavor, colors, and more fun into it. So basically, we re-engineered the way the UI, how it looks like, how we navigate, and how we make it more pleasing to the eye.
Shiva, when you're designing the One Map product, do you share the same views with Seok Mei?
To be honest, I'm not the pioneer for the product. I'm actually currently in support and maintained for the application. But as and whenever there are new requirements coming up, of course, I will give my viewpoint. And as a whole, as a team, we discuss it and we come to a conclusion before we go ahead with the design here.
And what other viewpoints do you have, Buran, for this question posed?
Yeah, so I think there are two things. Number one, women should not be afraid. I know that is not maybe your major in the college or maybe something that you've learned before. Just not be afraid, be confident about yourself. And number two is the thick skin. You are going to fail and make mistakes. The guys will do the same as well. For example, autonomous driving. When we go out and hire people, we find it so difficult to hire in the market because there is no major called autonomous driving in university whatsoever. It is just such a new topic or lessons that people are trying to create universities to collect tuition fees and make money out of it. So when you are in such a cutting edge technology company, of course you are guaranteed you have learned nothing about it previously. So going with an open mind, like myself, I did not know the terms like self-driving, LiDAR, computer vision, obstacle avoidance, detection, navigation. I know nothing about it. But what's more important about business is empathy. And I think empathy is the strength of women. And like Xiaomei, I also created the UI sequence process for my my team. So that's the user interface, right? AI, when we first heard about it, we were like, AI are going to take our jobs and it's such a monster. What is AI? And we need to upskill and learn about it. But if you look at the definition, real definition of AI, it is computer performing the tasks that human can do. Ultimately, it needs to solve a problem for the human. The best technology never wins. It's the technology that with empathy that can solve a real life problem and people are willing to bet their money, put their money to buy your solution. That wins. So for the ladies, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Have thick skin and ask questions. You are as good as men. Based on my experience.
I very much agree. We have to be fearless, well, no matter what gender, but especially for women, when sometimes when you're handling a project and some people may come to you and say, hey, I think you should do it this way or that way. But I think as an individual, you can always assess what comments, you can assess all the comments and you can decide and make your stand and your path forward for your project. To everybody right now, one more question is back to skill sets. So would you agree that gender is not really a problem, but it's about upskilling yourselves and having grow your skill sets as you go along your career? Yeah. So what other skill sets do you think that as you go along maybe the next 5 years in your career, how would you see yourself grow for your next phase? Maybe we could start with Pei Wen. What would you like to grow in the area that you're looking into? What would be useful for someone who's doing what you do?
I feel like you should build up your network skills and learn how to network with different people from starting from whatever that you have in your social circle, because from here you can actually learn much more things from other people and other agencies when you interact with them. So you get to learn more about their softwares, and actually from there, by looking at different softwares together from different people, you can actually start to learn what are the commonalities and also what are the gaps to be filled. And from these gaps, actually, you can start to know what you can help and contribute to the society to actually build the geospatial industries. Yeah, so that for what I feel building up your network and networking skills is very important in the geospatial industry. So from here, you can actually grow yourself and also grow your own portfolio and skills.
I agree. So sometimes we have so much focus on the demands of the job that we forgot about relationship building, and that is so super important in the job that we do. So it's a question from somebody: what's the job availability now in this sector? What's the demands now? And what course should he or she take? Is it sustainable? Would anyone want to take this question?
I can say for autonomous driving. So the hot jobs really I see we need are number one, the coders. And the coders needs to be open-minded. So it's essentially problem solving. So coding is not a lonely job. It's not you code something and then you just try to test if it works. Because when we are talking about autonomous driving, you are working with not only the other coders, but you are working with the chief architect as well as the CTO to solve a complex problem. So to understand the problem and to try to solve it in a creative way, it is a very rare skill that we are seeing in Singapore. So if anybody wants to apply for it, please come to me. The second job is the development engineers, meaning you are willing to wear your t-shirts and sometimes runners to go onto the site, sit in the vehicle, and really test the vehicle's performance against the design and really see the total running time, auto system, is that stable, is there disengagement. So this is, I've done it for months and it's physical work, guys and ladies. So you don't have your lunch in a nice cafeteria. Sometimes you have to get it done in 7-Eleven. But the result is so satisfying because you can see some lines of code, push it into the computer, and it can make a vehicle move. So the development engineer who knows the test requirement can really go into the field, work on the site with a vehicle, collect the data patiently, and just enjoy the work. But if you are a type of person that you enjoy the aircon, the office, the beautiful settings, apply for that job. So development engineer and the coders with the problem-solving skills are the two top vacancies I've seen in self-driving industry.
We have a couple of questions coming in. So ladies, do any one of you want to take the questions? Feel free, Shiva.
Yeah, I think that there's an anonymous attendee who have asked about suggest focusing on an area of expertise or broad knowledge without a nitty-gritty of understanding. I think for this portion, I might be able to answer because since I had no background about geospatial data or even the technology involved, so the first thing I got to use was basically I got to use Mapbox, which is a tool that's used for software, both mobile and web, to develop, like for example, polygons or polylines, just to maybe represent a particular area on a map. I think just by understanding how to work with that tool, I could understand the basics of geospatial, like what is a geopoint, you know, what does it mean to create routes from a source to a destination. So just by getting a simple tool, like for example, Mapbox is what I'm using, I think you will be able to understand the basics, which then you can apply to using a much more advanced tools, which will require a bit more geospatial data, like example QGIS or ArcGIS. I have only attended basic courses in them. I'm not an expert in them, which I think Peiwen and Stephanie may be able to answer.
So the question, so beyond ArcGIS and QGIS, what would you recommend the person to learn or pick up?
Can I take that?
Sure.
I think importantly is looking at the way mapping and how mapping solutions are going. More and more of the industries are going towards open standards. So if it's something that we can pick up, it's another thing to look at is Open Geospatial Consortium. And those you will have a whole lot of information about things to pick up, tools to pick up, areas to go towards. So saying that it may not be an open source, like for us, our applications is developed on open source, but there are also many areas where we can look at like open data, looking at artificial intelligence. There's a lot of AI components in there, and that needs a lot of big data, and that will come from open data. So any areas surrounding that you can pick up, that will be good as well. Yes.
So would the best route be taking IT as a major, then GIS as a minor subject? Anybody wants to take this? I guess there's different paths for each person.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter. If you're a coder that does more on the database coding, then obviously geospatial would be very important, because geospatial is not just now X and Y, there's also X, Y, and Z because it's 3D. So basically coding in that area is different. But IT from the application layer, I think it's sufficient. IT in terms of AI areas, machine learning, those kind of areas, it's not really the coding part that you need, but it's basically your thinking, your thoughts, and how do you make this happen, yeah. So it's more of that.
There's a question, I'm a student and I'm worried that I'm not getting involved enough in internships and projects in the industry. What's the best and earliest age to start learning and working to thrive in industry? When is it too late? This doesn't sound too late. It sounds like a perfect time. There's so much opportunities out there. Would you agree, ladies?
Yeah.
You can always check the GeoWorks website for job opportunities from the different geotechs, wonderful geotechs here who's hiring, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, we have some interns from, I believe it's Nanyang Poly to One Map 2. So we, every 3 months or so, we'll get an intern who comes in to help out with some of the projects, and they are basically like 17, 18. So they're pretty young, but they are part of a diploma where they are introduced to geospatial technology. But then again, I don't think age is a factor to picking up skills. I think it's more of the interest level and really on how much you wish to work on it more than the age.
I mentor students, master students from NUS in geospatial, as well as mentoring some NTU master students in business and entrepreneurship. So if anybody would like some advice or bounce some ideas, feel free to reach out. Vanessa, you have my contact. You can just contact me anytime.
Great, thanks, Seok Mei. What are your main tips for someone who's entering the geospatial sector directly from university? That's quite a broad question. I would answer, I suppose, just to keep an open mind and learn as much as you can from the different departments and colleagues. Does anybody else want to add your view to this? All right. So next, is GIS a tool heavily used in the architecture industry? Anybody wants to take this?
Actually, I can put a bit of my thoughts here, my 2 cents here. I wouldn't say GIS is what's the heavily used in the architect industry, but actually there are integrations between BIM, which is the building information model, and with GIS. So there are a lot of companies out there who are trying to find this gap between BIM and GIS, and that is where this tool is actually used, where there are information from BIM that can be imported into ArcGIS and be used as a tool from there. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
And Adrian also asked the questions that has to do with BIM and using ArcGIS just for switching his careers. It's not too late at this point in time. Yeah, would you agree? Okay, we are actually at the end of our session, which is a very, very short session. Hopefully this will be a teaser of what's to come. We plan to actually have in a longer, maybe 1 hour session next time. So stay tuned to GeoWorks social media, follow us. And for the last question, whether there's an existing community of women in geospatial here in Singapore. I believe this is the first, I'm not sure, but could be. So do follow us, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.